Should be ready to go. I'm just going to let you introduce yourself and we'll just kind of start chatting.
All right, awesome. Well, thanks for having me. My name is Katie. My last name is Welsh, and I'm the Family Tie Project. So, what is the Family Tie Project? So, it's basically a hospitality-driven brand that I created. Honestly, just one day when I felt like I had all these ideas. I was just sitting at home. I worked remotely, and I worked in trade shows. So trade shows, large events, corporate, like MS walks, Parkinson's walks. So I worked for a trade show company that managed them for a marketing branch of pharmaceuticals. So that's kind of where I started, and I wanted to kind of follow my passion and get kind of what really mattered to me and start doing things that I loved and things that inspired me. So I started the Family Tie Project. And yeah, I'm dedicated to elevating events and strengthening systems and just creating meaningful guest experiences. So mixing, yeah, exactly. Just like creating these like awesome, unique, excellent details matter
Right.
type of experiences. So whether that's a station or a dinner or just a guest experience in hospitality. So that's kind of what I do best.
I love it. And I know you're based in the Callicoon area,
Yeah.
or, that kind of like Western Sullivan County type thing. Do most of your events, do you travel for your events, or are you hosting events in your kind of local area?
Right now, just I want to focus on Sullivan County or doing things within where I live. Right now, that's my focus. I traveled for work, corporate, and I've done things in all parts of the country. But for me personally, the Family Tie Project is in Sullivan County, and this is where I was born and raised also.
Okay. And tell me how you came up with the name Family Tie Project.
So a long time ago, when I was about 20 or 21, it was my brothers and I, and we were like, yeah, we're going to start a family business, and we wanted to, utilize our talents and see where it went. And I came up with this business plan, which was just like notes on a piece of paper that, it was just about family, and we're pretty much all about family. We all lived in Massachusetts. Well, we left Sullivan County, went to New England, went to college, all of that. And then we all came back home. So yeah, so it's all derived from family.
Something about Sullivan County, right?
Yeah. Well, my mom's here, and I ended up, my husband also has roots in Sullivan County, way deeper than mine go. But yeah, so I know. I ended up marrying him, and we grew up, we're 7 years apart, but he grew up down the street on a horse farm.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
So we were talking about this a little bit earlier. You worked for Foster Supply Hospitality, which is obviously kind of a land-based business in Sullivan County as well. They're very locally focused, locally owned type of thing. Tell me a little bit about your experience. I think that's how you and I might have met too, was through Foster Supply, maybe.
Yeah. I think you classes. You did some workshops at North Branch.
Yes.
So, I left trade shows and wanted to do something more locally. And I actually, when I teamed up with Sean Lang for the Makers Market, the first one he initially did, he kind of came to me and was like, I have this idea. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. So I ended up meeting a lot of people at Foster Supply through there, because they were the food and beverage component of that event. And I was like, I just felt like these were my people, and I could see their mission. I loved everything that they were doing. All the people were so their heart was in it. And that's what kind of led me to Foster Supply and me reaching out to Sims for a job. And they offered me the general manager position at the Arnold House. So that's kind of where I started. And then eventually I became the event director of all of the properties, which were quite a few at the time.
Oh, wow.
And then I had a baby, and then I came back and was the managing director, and then I was the VP of operations. So I started out as, events and general managing and learning people and, what makes experiences and how to make them. And that, at the DeBruce, I managed the DeBruce, which is the most farm to table experience.
Okay.
Their menus are based off of like what's in season and very seasonal. All of the chefs try to do that at all the properties, and doing events. Even at Canosa recently, before I left, I did a harvest dinner, and that was based on like what's in season and how to bring the table to life and kind of represent like what's on the menu as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, my journey at Foster Supply, I was there for about 6 years, and
Oh, wow.
yeah, I did not want to leave, but unfortunately, I had to make that hard choice. Yeah, I had another child, so, and around here, that it just with daycare, and there's not a lot of availability for us moms to to have full-time nanny care. So
that's interesting, because we were talking before we started about kind of one of the projects I'm working on is like kind of that juxtaposition between like the Northern Appalachian and the Southern Appalachian, and how I perceive the Catskills to be like more farm to table. And like where I live, it's not as prevalent just because we have a lot of people moving in. So this is an interesting viewpoint that I didn't think about, though, is like being a mom and how, you are limited in the things that you can do because it is such a rural area, versus where I'm at, which is, kind of in a city. There's more options. Not that it's any more cost effective or whatever, but at least there's more options for, things like that. So that's an interesting viewpoint too.
Yeah, there's not a lot, and like obviously I was born and raised here, so I'm used to this kind of lifestyle, but I think it is much different. But again, just pulling back to like the farm to table lifestyle, like that's how my husband and I live, and that's how we raise our children, is just his number one goal. And what I do now is just reducing your carbon footprint, which is easy around here if you stay, healthy and locally. Like that's our main focus.
Right.
So pretty much everything I do is those two main categories, like how to stay healthy, how to stay locally, and supporting the community. So we're big community members, obviously. Again, like I grew up here, so we have so many family members that know this person that we went to church with, or that back in the day, or school and sports and all of that. So we're pretty connected through a lot of veins of the community. So I love doing new events with Sean. And so he asked me, now that I've left Foster Supply, if I wanted to help with the Ramp Fest, which I was super excited about.
Yeah, tell me more about that.
So it's just, it's a slow time for the Catskills in March and April. Yeah. Like a lot of people leave because it's mud season. It's not very pretty. But we want to bring people and bring them before the summer. Like the summer gets crazy, as we all know. So just like celebrating the wild ramp is really what it's going to be about. And what I'm going to help him do is just bring something for kids. So, because a lot of these events, there's not a lot for the kids, and I think it's important that they're in the community, in town. My kids love walking around town, so like just giving them part of the celebration. And if someone leaves knowing what a ramp is, I think that's going to be important for the kids too. So even if it's like even if they're drawing a ramp, it's like, what is this? We could just, we'll have fun stuff like that for them to do. I'm hoping to do like a little digging, play in the dirt, some arts and crafts, some face painting. Yeah, just some stuff. So
nice. That
Yeah.
sounds fun. I love ramp season. It always was the first sign of spring to me in the Catskills because you're like, you have these really long, kind of drawn out winters. Sometimes it'll be, fall, spring, where it's like, you've gone through the snowy season and then you're like, you're ready for it to warm up and it warms up and then you get dumped on with snow. And the next thing you know, now it's really spring because there's the ramps, they're coming up.
Yeah.
And so then it was like, I don't know, my body was always like my first, the first taste of that fresh green from the ramps. I would make kimchi and like pickled ramps and things like that. So it was like, it was always my body was just like, thank you for something green finally. But
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah. And they
excited
don't
about
always come on the same exact day. They just come at a certain range.
yes.
So
And
it all depends on the weather and when they're ready, but there's some super cool things you could do. And when I worked at Foster Supply, the DeBruce was big on that because they have an entire property just like that has ramps growing that you could go and forage them, and the chefs would go down with guests, and it was like this. That's like a true like you're picking. They could pick their own
yeah,
and take them home if they wanted, and they still do that. So
that is
that's super cool. Like, very Catskills.
yes.
I can't make that one up, and that's like the least fake that you can get. So
Yeah. And that's kind of like how I'm building my business too, is like around that whole principle of like kind of full immersion. Like you go pick your ramps and you learn how to sustainably source them instead of like, pulling them up with the roots. You leave the roots and then so then they come back and you're not depleting that source. And then you take them back and then you can turn them into like all the things that you can turn them into. You can make ramp butter, you can make the kimchi, you can do like pickled ramps and then that kind of thing. So that's kind of that's very close to, kind of how I've pivoted and what I want to be doing as well. So, which is based on that Catskills experience that, you were just talking about.
yeah, the farmers market is all year round for us, which we're super lucky to have that. I mean, yeah, I live in Calhoun, but obviously it's not a far drive for when we lived in Jeffersonville or grew up there. It was it's just super important that these farmers show up on these days. They're outside most of the time.
Yeah.
And then just like kind of creating your meals, doing all of any planning that you have is really around what's seasonal. I don't go fishing for trout in July. Like, you don't want to do that. So.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's very frowned upon, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just, it's not good. It doesn't taste good. You want to do it in the season. So it's just important to know when you come here, you kind of educate yourself on like what is in season and what isn't. And you know that by just going to the farmer's market.
Yeah. So tell me more about your project, the Family Tie Project. Obviously we want to talk up that some as well, because that's kind of your main focus. You live the lifestyle. You said your husband is really immersed in that. You're raising your kids in that environment. You're raising them in a small town. You have your challenges with that. But tell me about your business and, kind of where you've been and where you're going. Obviously we have the ramp stuff. So
yeah. So that's one thing I have coming up is the Ramp Fest. Just celebrating spring in the community, and like that's going to be a curated market that Sean usually does. So he'll do all of that, and then I'm just doing some meaningful projects for myself. Is just I'm kind of all over the place. So I'm going to be running a wedding for one of my other very dear friends, Hillary, who owns her own planning company. So I'm going to be doing a wedding. I'm also going to be doing for another catering company. I'm going to be doing from start to finish execution, and coming up with how their stations, I'm going to be elevating their stations, creating that experience also for a couple weddings. And then I'm hoping to do another project that I'm super excited about that I haven't gotten yet, so I can't really talk about it, but it's basically creating a brand playbook to train leaders and train the staff on looking beyond the table and how to basically take a simple dinner and elevate it, or a simple station and elevate it, and use and I guess use things from the menu. So like whatever the menu is, we're creating the experience around it. So it's not just something on a table. It's
Right.
meaningful from start to finish, and using your senses and your five senses I always put into events. So I'm going to kind of create a playbook for them. This is what the brand is. This is what it looks like. This is how to do it. This is why we're doing it, what the goal is, what the meaning is, and why we're all here. So those are like the things I'm working on, because that's more of what I did at Foster Supplies. I ran the leader. I was one of the leaders, right? So I had employees and staff, and I hyped them up, like teach them. I love teaching, and kind of just like, why are we here? Like, you know, like, don't just come to work.
Right.
Like, I need the passion. Like, what are you passionate about? Why are you here? What are you doing? Like, what are you getting out of this? And that's kind of what I'm asking myself in this next chapter. It's like, okay, Katie, you have these two kids, you grow up in the Catskills. Like, I don't want to leave. And like, how am I going to make this, work for you right now? So that's kind of where I'm at.
I love it.
Doing that, whatever makes me passionate, and I get pretty passionate. I actually, I don't drink or anything like that, so I pretty get fired up on coffee, and I love working, I love teaching, and I just love creating cool things that have meaning to other people too.
Yeah. I totally relate to a lot of that, including the not drinking a lot and like drinking a lot, the coffee part of it. How do you find, this is where I struggle a little bit too. So we're just going to have a little conversation. How do you, and I think that you probably, I could answer some of this myself, just from where you live and being in the town and growing up and the connections that you've made. But how do you find your clients? How do you find, I want to do this event and I have this thing. Let's just say you're going to plan your own event and you're like, I'm going to do this from scratch. I'm going to plan a long table farm to table dinner and I want it to be focused on, X, Y, and Z. How do you find your people to show up for that?
Ooh.
Right?
Yeah. So I guess it's just finding people with the same passions, how they feel about it. Like, I would never do an event with somebody who wasn't with the same goal. Like, we have to have the same common goal. We have to be wanting the same things. I think that's why Sean Lang and I from the Farmhouse Project, we get along so well, because we want the same things. When we join up or do anything together, it's like we both feel pretty passionate about it. We could text each other like late at night and be like, okay, we're gonna do this. It's like 6 or 7 years ago, I helped him do some of his dinners as well, and it was like we could find a really cool space.
Yeah.
And he continued on to do it, and I went to Foster Supply, so we separated and he went along. But that's kind of where I find my people, even just my clients. Like, right now in my new chapter, I don't want to just do anything. Yeah. Like, the Ramp Fest is for the community, for Calhoun, bringing people to the businesses, helping the businesses, because that's also like farm to table is like supporting the local businesses. The sales tax on all of that goes to help the community. So like knowing who your farmers are, what's their product, what are they doing with their product, what are they doing with their farms, like all of those things kind of go into the decision making. It's not just like, oh, I want to do this and then it happens, right? There's like all of these decisions that need to be made. And like if it's for a good cause, or it's something that I can get behind, that's kind of how I make those decisions.
It gives you a little bit more, like you were saying earlier, your passion kind of gives you that drive, to make it happen, versus just like planning a wedding for the sake of planning a wedding, or, a dinner, or whatever that event happens to be. Yeah. Yeah.
The wedding I'm doing, I happen to know the couple. They were my co-workers. And so like 6 years, it happened that I'm somewhat connected in this long story. So I was like, I want to do that. I want to be there for their wedding. So that was one reason why I was like, okay, I'll do this one wedding this year as the planner. So
nice.
Which I'm happy to do.
I think people are like, I think people, and this is just kind of an aside, I think people are either like in the event world, we're either like wedding planners, because, that's kind of our passion, or we're like kind of other type of event. I work with a event planner who, she's like, her business partner does the weddings. She's like, I'm not a wedding planner, but I help out, but I'm not like the wedding planner. So I kind of get the feeling that you're either like, I'm a wedding planner, or I do, other events or whatever. So
Yeah, there's such a wide range, and that's why a lot of people say to me like just know me by events, but I was at Foster Supply, I was more in operations, like building systems that work. Like, okay, we want to do this for the guests, but how are we going to do that? How do you make it sustainable? Like, in the summer it's crazy, in the winter it's slow. So creating that business that kind of flows, and finding people is really hard now for hospitality, to find them. People just, I don't know, I can't find bartenders, I can't find servers. So finding hard workers is also pretty difficult. But
so whenever you were saying finding, building the operations in like the winter, is that just like, is that centered around focus more on how do you make it appealing for people to come to the hotel or to dinner or to the event or whatever in the winter, because it's just a slow season? Is that
sometimes you can't even pay people to come. Like just finding fun and creative ways. Like one of the many reasons why I love Foster Supply, but one thing I got to do was come up with events of like how to get people here. So before my time, they came up with ice fishing derby, but we didn't have access to the lake anymore, so we had to come up with another way. So we came up with Fire and Ice, which still happens at the Arnold House now, and it's just like literally creating sometimes it's just like, how can we create an event to stand around a bonfire? And it's that simple. But you just take advantage of some of those things when you live here, because it's like, not everybody can go out there and just like have a bonfire, or like go out and like there's the woods, there's the trees, there's the squirrels. Like it's so we have like such an advantage here, I think.
I think so too. I agree.
Sometimes I do take it, like I don't take it, I look outside and I'm like, oh, the weather today, but I'm so lucky. I'm so lucky to live here and be able to have roots here. And so I try not to take it for granted too much.
I agree. What else do you want the audience to know? Or I want to just definitely champion your business. Obviously, that's an important part of what you're doing. And, I think that you have some really cool stuff going on. And obviously, being able to collaborate with Sean in the Farmhouse Project is, they always do such really good local, seasonal, farm to table, land-based kind of things too, because that's kind of what they do as well. But so tell me what else. I was going to ask about like challenges and it doesn't have to be necessarily like a land-based kind of thing, but what challenges do you face as a business owner in, a small town in the Catskills, or I would slant it from like the Northern Appalachian aspect of things. What are your challenges?
I think just a lot of challenges is the seasonal opportunities. Especially with events or any type of dinners or anything. We don't live in Florida, so we can't get the grapes, or the grapefruits, we can't get the oranges, we can't do all these cool stuff, we can't be outside, it rains, like it's not in the forecast, but it's gonna rain. It doesn't matter. So, just kind of like being able to Yeah, you always have to have a plan B, being able to move kind of with the wind, be adaptable. All of those things is a challenge, like for any business, obviously. But, there could be a snowstorm, there could be a tornado, there could be all of these elements. Like we live in the elements. So doing stuff for us as a business and even in just event world, it's pretty difficult. The wedding world in this area has grown exponentially since I grew up here. So just being able to, host all of those elements, I guess, host guests in those elements is a challenge. And even getting people here, I think, is just to see the magic is probably something that it's hard to tell that story, and there's a lot of people that are doing it well right now, but it's not as many as you think. Even in the winters, I think one of the challenges here is the winter.
Okay.
And this season right now, the season
Right.
between some like spring is kind of just getting started, and seeing the magic that you can still go hiking, you can still be outside, there's still so much to do here. So yeah, if I guess hopefully that answers the question.
It does. Well, because we all face different challenges no matter where we're at, right? We could be in California where it's beautiful, like you said, Florida, where it's like, the weather's amazing all the time and it's, whatever, but they still have their own challenges, right? And it's just maybe not things that we think of, but they are used to working around their challenges.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, I'm always curious, what people are finding to be their biggest challenge. And sometimes it's, something that, our readers or whatever would have some, maybe some helpful hints on, but I don't know about, they're not going to have any helpful hints on the, how to not make it snow in the middle of your, event that you're trying to host outside, whatever.
Yeah. It's just don't get your heart set on being outside necessarily, but there's always a pivot. There's always a way, and just knowing what is available to you here.
Yes.
If you have a restaurant, like what's local in the season? So like, what are you doing for a special right now? That's interesting. When you go to the farmer's market, there's still potatoes, there's carrots, there's still a lot of fresh ingredients. Soon we'll have ramps. Like, what are you going to do with those? Like, I think is really important for the restaurants in this area is like, that's what draws people to go out, is those specialty ingredients that are local, locally harvested, and how they're going to spin those is really cool. And then and what people want to support. So
I liked your suggestion, and it's kind of like a, duh, Kristen kind of moment but your suggestion of like, just go shop the farm market, like if you want to know what's in season, go look at the farm market, see what's growing, see what they're producing. We can always do a Google search or whatever, but it's much more fun to show up at your farm market and talk to your farmers who are growing that and seeing what they are growing. And, they always have suggestions on how to, what to do with this stuff too, just because it's potato season doesn't mean you have to just eat a potato. There's more ways to. I just made last night. I made a. There goes my nephew. Sorry, I thought sitting outside would be nice, but I'm like, there goes my nephew blowing the horn. There goes the rooster crowing. The people shooting the gun in the back. Whatever. The dog barking. I just made a potato and chickpea curry. To serve over rice with spinach. So I'm like, it's not just potatoes, like I'm not just going to make mashed potatoes or, boil a potato or whatever. There's other fun things that you can do with your vegetables in the middle of winter.
Yeah, that's what my husband's the cook in the house. So he does all of that. Makes the soup from, we make a chicken in the oven, make a soup with it. So nothing really goes to waste. I just like composting too. So
yeah, well, I know as one good farmer would have, some composting. Do you live on property where you grow stuff or have animals or anything like that?
We don't yet. Yeah, hopefully one day we'll get to that. But right now we're kind of happy in Calhoun. We have our own garden. His parents have a horse boarding farm.
Oh,
So we go
nice.
to the farm, hang out. They have lots of land, they have a pond. So right now just horses though. We
Okay.
haven't we haven't gone to chickens yet, but it's definitely something in the talks of the future. So
Well, you have to have time for that stuff too. And it sounds like with the kids and like your business and your planning and all that good stuff, you're definitely got your hands full.
yeah, right now, yeah, the past 6 years I've been fully immersed in foster supply, and it was foster supply, kids, home, sleep, that.
Yeah.
So now I'm kind of getting a little bit of breathing room, kind of breathing now.
Well, how
So,
long ago did you quit foster supply?
I left in the fall,
Oh,
so
okay.
left in
So recently.
November. Yeah, so I'm not fully over it yet, as you can see, but yeah, I miss him. I love to stay in touch with everybody, and
Nice.
yeah, I'm supporting them from the outside. So they got a busy season ahead, and yeah, and I'm just gonna basically just work on what my next chapter is here. And I started a blog that just kind of it's really just I have like I don't know, 20,000 photos. I have so many photos that over the years I didn't really get to like talk about what's behind the photos, and it's like they're not just pretty pictures. And I do a lot with the community. I do a lot with, I love children's events. I love planning them. I love seeing the kids come alive. And a lot of people say that kids don't notice the details, but they do.
Right.
Um, and kids are very interested in learning, and they want to learn about foods and cooking and what is this. And I just love that aspect of children events. So that's kind of what my blog is. It's a mix of kind of everything, and I just have a lot that I want to teach this next generation of leaders that will be in hospitality, and like seeing someone like just so passionate and come to life. And really, I've seen a lot of my employees in the past start with this: I don't give a crap about anything, and what is this? Like, okay, Kate, you're gonna make me move this chair 12 times, to end up being like, Katie, look at what I did. I moved this chair just right. So the guests, like, it's just they did it, and it was because they saw the mission, they felt the passion, and then they started becoming immersed in the situations of whatever it is that they were in. And that's why I was doing what I was doing, because that fulfilled me, I guess, in a way. It's just seeing these kids, and a lot of times it's like these 14-year-olds, they come and they want a job, and they're like, Katie, what can I do? And I'm like, oh, like, gosh, what do I do with you? And actually, I have about 3 or 4 kids that started when they're 14, and one of them specifically is like in college, her second year. She works at the pharmacy. She's the most amazing human, but she started when she was 14, and I trained her, and now she does events for foster supply, and just seeing her grow, has really made it worth all those sleepless nights.
Yeah. You make them move the chair 12 times. That's what you do with the 14-year-old.
Yeah. If anybody actually watches this that knows me, they're gonna be like, yeah. Like, there's been one, and I don't know how to put this in my blog, but eventually I will. If people question, like, Katie, all this food isn't gonna fit on here, and I'm like, yes, it is. It is. Just don't worry. Just keep bringing it. Just keep bringing it. We are gonna make it fit. Just watch. And just having a leader that has that confidence and that ability to be like, guys, come with me, like, we're gonna make this awesome thing. And like the people that are like with you, that are like, no, let's do it, there's so many times I walked into a room and I was like, guys, what if we do this? And so I love going to the chefs with that one.
Oh,
And
I love it.
they're like, "What? Are you insane?" So, yeah, a lot of fun times in hospitality.
I love it. So that's what you're gonna be writing about some of that on your blog then. I saw that you went to the Youngsville pancake breakfast, which I love.
Yeah, that one's April 12th. That one I've been going to since I was a kid. So the
Oh,
pancake breakfast though is it started as like a joke with me and my one of my old friends. I said, or one of my friends currently, sorry, she transplanted here. She has a whole nother story from Foster Supply, but I was like, hey, it's pancake breakfast season. She's like, what is that? And I'm like, you don't know?
oh,
It's like you have to go to a pancake breakfast.
right.
And so she went to the one in Livingston Manor. This was last year. She went to the one in Livingston Manor, and she like texted me afterwards. She's like, "Oh my god, I love pancake breakfast.
Right.
Like, fire trucks, the kids loved it.
Yes.
Eating with your neighbor." And
Yes.
so that kind of like, and then I was talking to my husband. He's like, "Oh, it's a whole thing," and you know, the local
It is.
syrup, like that alone is
I
just like,
know.
you know,
I used to make my own maple syrup whenever I lived in the Catskills because it's kind of like the thing. And then I moved to Tennessee, and I'm like, our maple syrup season is like 2.7 seconds long, and I can never figure out when it is. So
yeah.
I use honey for everything. But my favorite pancake breakfast was always the one I do it before the tractor parade.
Oh yeah, yeah, and
California.
Calhoun.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then you go up there to the, up on top of the hill, and then you have your pancakes, and then you walk down the hill and you get your prime spot for the tractor parade, and then you watch the tractor parade and
Yeah, it's just the hype and everyone, like the community just gathers and you're seeing everyone, and then yeah, I mean you're in and out. You're eating, you get your pancakes and you
oh
leave
yeah.
and then you go to the parade. Yeah, that's kind of what the Jeff one is like. So they're super fun and also unique to the area. So you can't get them everywhere.
Yes, that was the other thing I was going to say. Like, you don't find those everywhere. Like, and I think that that's true of like, any small town that you go to or smaller area, they kind of have their thing, right? Like, you don't see a tractor parade everywhere. You don't see the duck, thing that they do in Jeffersonville. Like, you don't
Yeah.
see those things like everywhere, right? And so that's one of the other things I'm trying to hopefully uncover with like these series is like what is specific to an area. But yeah, the pancake breakfast, like you don't like I don't go down to my little, corner here and find a pancake breakfast. I wish I did though, because they're so good.
Yeah, and yeah, good pancakes. So
I know. Oh, now I want a really good pancake.
I know it's hard. Yeah, so I'll go to like 3 in a row, and then
And then you're done. You're like, I've had enough. No
yeah, I
more
just went to my second one on Sunday, and then yeah, we're looking forward to the one in Youngsville. That one's the best. But again, like I grew up going to that one, so I feel like I'm a little biased.
I don't think so. I'm like, I don't know. Maybe this is your new like thing. Well, you're already kind of doing it, but like maybe you have a little series or something about like I do freelance blogging for a event company here in Knoxville, and I get to travel around to different, like I get to create whatever the thing is. Like I can do a series on coffees, I can do a series on ice cream, I can do like I went to like I went quail hunting, I can do whatever I want to do. So I'm like, maybe that's like one of your things that you just kind of rate you wouldn't rate them in a small town like that, but you could like you could definitely do like
The top five. I have that on the blog. I did my top five, but it's solely like the western end. Like there's so many more in like Berryville, and it's probably worth the drive. Like Roscoe does one, I think. So there are definitely so many. It's hard to hit them all up.
I think that would be hard.
Yeah, there are people that do that, but
Really?
yeah.
That's a lot of pancake. That's
Yeah.
a lot of pancake.
Yeah, so if you haven't been, definitely go because now the friend that I got, I was like, that's my mission. I'm just gonna get one person committed every year.
There you go.
Yeah, getting the hype, and it supports the community. So
Absolutely. And yeah, I love it. It is like quintessential small town type of thing, right? What you're saying, like the firemen are making the breakfast, and then you're sitting next to your neighbor, or you're meeting people that I always met people I didn't know, right? Because I'm, not from there. I had been there. I mean, I'd been there for a while, but it was still, you don't know everybody. So I was always
Yeah.
meeting people, or I was with friends and they would introduce me to their friends, whatever. So, and then you just go on about your business and your belly's full and you've had a really good morning, and then you go do whatever farm market or whatever it is that, you're going to do.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to keep you. I think I have enough stuff here we'll do a really good article, and I'm going to stop recording.
Yeah.
No, before I stop recording, is there anything else you would like for the audience to know?
Let's see. I guess if we go back to our subject on the land creates the foundation and the experience is what people remember.
Ooh.
That's my closing remark. So that's basically what I try to tie everything up is, a detail is just a detail, but it's about the experience.
Oh, I love it.
So.
I love it. All right, let me stop recording.